And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. Welcome to Benchley Night. Welcome to Benchley Night. I have here on the desk my good friend Charbonneau, who is going to help tonight, is currently helping by lying with approximately 2,000 pounds of specific gravity on the list of people I have to thank tonight. Thank you, Charbonneau. Really appreciate that. Our neighbor, the Millikens, Kelly Milliken came by today with one of Charbonneau's collars and tag sets, because Charbonneau is very, very accomplished at getting rid of those. Charbonneau, as you know, is my the sole remaining feline here at Hadley Street here in Bellows Falls, Vermont. We have more and more little kitties in graves. We've got Corduroy over by the hostas right next to Silas, who's just down the path from little Yorkie. It's becoming very Stephen King around here. It's amazing, ladies and gentlemen, how sad the death of a cat can make one. I say to myself, it's a cat. I say to myself, everything in life dies. It's the great circle. I also say there is no death because you go back to the earth and replenish, and doesn't go like a good. When your cat dies, Betty Sue and I weep. Well, I can't speak for her, but I suspect she weeps as much as I do. And I do. I will be talking a bit more about our what we're doing in Corduroy's memory, at least what I've kind of fallen into doing. But before we get too depressed about cats, we've got some people watching. Hi, Terry Hudson. It's good that people are here. Tonight we've got two Robert Benchley pieces. We've got two Robert Benchley pieces from. I don't know why I have that up on the screen. If you don't get my newsletter, ladies and gentlemen. There is the address to sign up, charliehunterart.substack.com. You should sign up. I wrote a very sad, tear-jerky, that's what's made me so sad for the last day. I wrote a very good Substack post about the death of Corduroy. And it thoroughly pitched me into sadness for the last 24 hours. Charbonneau's not sad, though. And then, let's see, put this one up. If you want to learn more about Studio Cat Corduroy, just go to hunter-studio.com/corduroy. There are a whole bunch of pictures of Studio Cat Corduroy. There is Betty Sue's eulogy. There's the link you can click for our liberal snowplowing do-gooder beneficiary, those who love Corduroy, friends of Studio Cat Corduroy. We're helping Stage 33 edit or do something with their podcast. And friends of Studio Cat Corduroy have banded together and are the sponsors for this first year. It's been hugely successful, ladies and gentlemen. We'll revisit that at the end of the broadcast. So anyway, there we go. That's enough flogging and cat deaths for now. Let's put away the cares of the world and join me for two Robert Benchley pieces. First, do you make these mistakes? A great many people use faulty English without even knowing it. Ain't you? How many times, for instance, have you wanted to use the word eleemosynary? I meant to look that up and learn how to pronounce it before doing it tonight, and I forgot. Eleemosynary. How many times, for instance, have you wanted to use the word eleemosynary and haven't been able to do so without laughing? So you've used whom instead, thinking that it means the same thing. Well, it doesn't. Probably one of the most prolific causes of mistakes in spoken English is the use of intoxicating liquors. Inflammable is not English, and you know it. Neither is washery, and yet you hear educated people say these words in the best circles, and you think nothing of it. It is merely a slovenly way of speaking, induced by an even more slovenly way of drinking. The English language is derived from the Latin, Greek, French, Saxon, Spanish, and Yiddish. That is why English is such a difficult language for foreigners to learn. Arabs and Turks are completely at sea with it. But there's no reason why you shouldn't be at sea. There's no reason why you should be at sea. All that is needed is a few hours practice every day, being careful not to bend at the knees. Just keep saying to yourself over and over again, I shall speak good English. Before long, you will find yourself saying, I will speak good English, or possibly just the hell with it. Try taking a pencil and jotting down the number of times during the day that you find yourself making the following common mistakes in everyday English. I didn't ought to have went. Whom am I? For where am I? Sure, I'll sign. What is it? My private telephone number is Bogardus 9476. This is a very common mistake. Heil Hitler. You may think that these little slips and others like them do not matter in ordinary conversation. I make myself understood, don't I? You may say. Ah, but do you? Napoleon failed to take Moscow until it was a mass of ruins because he said, take your time, Joe, instead of hurry up, Joe, to the man who was in charge of the army. Just the difference of 3 little words. A man in Colorado was hanged for murder because in a written statement he said, I did it instead of I didn't do it. If he had known the most elementary rudiments of English, he would not have made such a mockery of himself. If I had known the most elementary rudiments of English, I wouldn't have written the most elementary rudiments. So you see? Second reading for the night. The word 3. I don't know whether you care or not, but etymological circles are in an uproar. They have just discovered what the word 3 comes from. They've known the derivation of all the other words in the number table, as for example, 2, which is from Tuesday, or the second day in the week, if you don't count Sunday as the first, and 5 from the god Wotan, or Thor, or Buttercup, and so forth and so forth. But they have never been able to figure out where the word 3 comes from. A little fellow from the University of Guelph discovered it. He doesn't speak English himself, but he is awfully interested in people who do. It was during one of these periods, I should have told you he has periods when he looks up words, that he found out about the word 3. He was looking for the word tree, and not speaking English well, he thought it was pronounced 3. You can see how that might very well happen. The word 3 comes to us directly from the French collect. The original word was and still is try, which means sorting, as in card playing, a deal. Thus, one would say, give me a tree, or how is your tree, meaning give me a deal, or how is your deal? Of course, if one was really speaking French, all the other words in the sentence would be in French too, such as donnez-moi un tree, or votre tree, ça marche? Just how the word tree got into the French language is a complete mystery, which occupies practically nobody's attention at the moment. It is supposed to have come from the Creole patois of New Orleans and was used to signify hurry or lethargy. The old form of the word was brule, which gradually was shortened into tree. Later, the whole word was dropped from the language by a rising vote. The Normans brought the word into England just before the Norman conquest. In their use of it, an extra syllable was added, making it troyoi, meaning white bait or Roger's crab. We still are no nearer than we were to finding out how it came to mean three of anything. Don't think that I'm not just as worried as you are. With the advent of water power and the subsequent water pistol, Luke was the fellow I was speaking of a few yards back, didn't know what to do. Unless I am greatly mistaken, this paragraph belongs in another article. Well, anyway, the people who are making up the English language found themselves with names for every digit except for three. And as there were three of quite a lot of things, Marx Brothers, blind mice, wishes, and cent stamps, it got increasingly embarrassing not to have a word to express three. They tried using the word four, but that ended only in confusion, especially when addition or subtraction was at stake. Suddenly, someone said, why don't we take the word tree from the French? They'll never miss it, and they owe it to us anyway. This seemed like a logical plan, and everybody but one man agreed to it. He later committed suicide when he found out how successful it had worked out. I was a blind fool, he wrote. As it sounded rather common to say tree, they put in an H and substituted a double E for the I. This made as pretty a three as you could wish for. And from that day on, it was part of the language. They tried it out on a little rhyme that went 1, 2, 3, buckle my shoe. And it went so well that soon everybody was saying it. Frankly, I don't know whether I like it as a word or not. It still sounds a little slangy. All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that is our Robert Benchley for tonight. That is our Robert Benchley for tonight. Charbo has fallen asleep heavily and is shedding, and kind of dust and grime is precipitating nicely out of his fur onto my work area. But we have a few people to thank, ladies and gentlemen. We have a few people to thank. As I said, Corduroy, if you want to honor Corduroy, go to hunter-studio.com/corduroy and click on the little link there for contributions to the Stage 33 podcast for the next year. Friends of Studio Cat Corduroy, because she used to come out and supervise at Stage 33 live concerts. She used to come out and wander around and suggest alternate harmonies and other guitar tunings and how to set up the microphones correctly. And she was well loved by the folks at Stage 33 Live. And so, as well as the list of liberal snowplowing do-gooders, as you can see here. Now, I'm not muted here. That's muted. Yes, good. Okay. As well as this list of people who are the regular contributors to the liberal snowplowing do-gooders, I want to thank tonight. Here it is. I forgot the unidentified unglets. Hopefully this one's working. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank those who have contributed to the to the Friends of Studio Cat Corduroy Fund. And those include Ms. Terry Hudson, Katie DeWitz, Joan Viano, Susan McNeil, Nancy Teagarden-Weigand, Kurt Bullock, Karen Faisler, Margina Burnett, Betsy Garside, Home Morris, Linda Marquez, Michelle Dufour, Roberta Martin, Chris and Cheryl Sherwin, Susan McCullough, Rhea Broom, Martha Rowley, and out there in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where they say to their little dog that they expect that little dog to outlive both of them. My very, 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 very tall cousin, his wonderful wife Elise, and their wee little, very, very beloved dog, Ginger. You take good care, ladies and gentlemen. You take good care. If you've got cats, if you've got pets, if you've got humans around you, give them a hug. We'll see you soon. Well, there won't be Benchley night for a couple of weeks because I gotta go to Ireland. But there'll be Benchley after I return. Take care. Bye-bye.